a team lead over in the front. I really wanted to do it because I had a really awesome team lead my first semester, and she encouraged me to apply. And yeah, just kind of ended up working out from there.
Awesome. Thanks, Grace. I do have a handy thing up here that tells you guys what you need to talk about if I just get it up there for you. I know, Grace just nailed it though.
Well, yeah.
Okay, Kim, go ahead.
So I'm Kim, and I'm from American for Utah. This is my second semester working at a BSC. I'm the team lead for the phones. And then I wanted to apply just because I had an awesome team lead as well. And I had some really good experiences shadowing some new hires, which kind of helped encourage me to want to be a team lead.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Logan Warnick. I'm from America. I've moved around a lot. I've worked at the BSC for a while. I think it's like maybe 4 semesters, 5, something like that. I wanted to be a supervisor for the money. No, I'm kidding. No, it's always been something I've enjoyed. Working with people, helping people grow, and to kind of evaluate processes and improve them. I should say my new position. New position is project manager in CX. So in this hallway.
It's exciting, and you're breaking ground, being the first co-project manager, so that's exciting. All right, Sebastian.
Yeah, so my name is Sebastian. So I'll be a team lead over chat team. So I was a team lead already this past semester, but just for the weekends. So now I'm gonna have like an actual team. But yeah, I've been working here for over 2 years, 2.5 years. I love BSC, and yeah, I'm from Chile. And yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Sebastian. Brian, did you want to introduce yourself real quick?
I'm Brian. I don't know, what do you want me to say?
You're going to say, which group do you work for?
So I oversee, our office is kind of split down the middle. Our side of the office does the contacts. So all the phone and chat and email and help desk and all that fun stuff. So I oversee our side of the office. And I work a lot behind the scenes. You guys probably don't see me quite as much, especially now that we're working more remote. I work behind the scenes to make sure everybody gets paid, make sure we have enough computers, make sure we have the software and technology that we need to do our jobs. So that's kind of my job.
Awesome. Thanks, Brian. Trenton, do you want to do a quick intro?
Yeah, sure. I am working in training right now. I'll be back in contacts next semester. I've worked for the BSC for about a year now, and I'm heading back to contacts because I just love it. I love the team there, and John and Jake have shown me what's possible in that position. So I'm excited to try to help out the best that I can, and help us be the best team possible.
Yeah, he's going to tackle our senior lead position next semester. So he's coming to learn what you guys are learning about. Okay, Guillermo.
Yeah, I'm Guillermo Lemus. I'm from Montreal, Canada. I'm going to be a team lead at the contact center next semester. The reason why I applied is because Academy's been pushing me to apply. And I always liked working with team, motivating, serving. And so I think that this is a perfect position to really work directly with those agents who are making so much effort and working hard to get this running and working.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, well, I'm going to introduce myself real quick. I'm Jessica Linford. My other last name is Martinson, but still haven't updated it. So if you're looking for me on Facebook, that's why you can't find me. I worked here for 2.5 years, and I've worked at BYU, Idaho for 6 years, a little bit in IT for a while in online learning. And I oversee specifically the phone and the training team. So that's why I get the opportunity to be here with you guys today. And There's some things, this will be in your binder. Like I said, I apologize because the printers don't like me today. So you only have a few pages from your binder. And I don't have, hopefully we'll see if I can get enough copies to all of you. But at least you'll have the first few pages. Each of you can take one of those binders too, and we'll get you the rest of them moving forward. There's some icons that we're testing out on this slideshow to just kind of help me and you figure out what we're supposed to do on each slide. So these icons will be in your binder. There's the teach icon. That just means it's time for you guys to probably listen and take notes. I'll try not to talk your ear off. Number 2, the binder insert. That means that you have a page that references that slide in there that you guys can be looking at. Discussion, that means it's time to get ready to participate. There's going to be a lot of discussion and activity in this training to help us grow and learn from one another. Same with the activity one. That means we're going to have participation. And then homework, that means it's referring to something you've done in your homework or will do in your homework. All right. So question, everyone get to the homework this weekend, get to look at it. Everyone was able to find it. Okay, as we move forward, you will be able to go access the homework using the training portal widget, and you can find that on almost all of the general dashboards. But if you're having problems, let's go ahead and pull up TD real quick just so I can show you what it looks like. Most all of you, I think, should have access or should have had access at some point to the BSC Phones dashboard, right? I think you've all worked there before. So it's just this little icon right here. You'll go in there and it'll be the BSC Supervisor Training. And just this third one down. That's how you guys will access your homework from here on out. Guys, these meeting controls, did they throw anyone else off?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you guys did your homework because we're gonna talk about several of the things that were in there today. So hopefully this won't look too unfamiliar to you. Who filled out the making a transition self-assessment? Everyone get a chance to do that? Good. The first thing we're going to be talking about today is trying the shift of focus that happens when you're hired from an employee position to a supervisor position. There's a lot that needs to change, and you guys probably already saw and got some ideas of some of that from the making a transition. Based off that homework, what things were, I guess, surprising to you guys, or what areas were you concerned about?
I think that to me, it was mostly, well, just multitasking. It's something I'm working on, but it's definitely something I really was a little concerned. I was like, oh my goodness, yeah, I forgot like multitasking. That's an important one. So.
Yeah, I don't know if you can ever fully master multitasking. I think some of us can get good at it, and some of us have to learn not to have too many browsers open.
Yeah.
But you know, that's definitely a challenge, and it can increase as you step into those supervisor roles. Anyone else have anything they noted from that?
I don't think it wasn't necessarily surprising, but I think I really just liked how a lot of it just mentioned how important our team is and how our role is to take care of our team and make sure that they're learning and growing and that we're there to support them the whole way. I just really like that with the whole training.
Yeah, I like that. I definitely think that's part of this transition, right? Is your focus shifts from your incoming work, whether it be projects or contacts or emails or phone calls, like whatever it is, to now your focus is on your team members who are doing those things. That's definitely huge. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. There's definitely a transition from employee to supervisor, like we've already talked about. When you switch, suddenly you're not focusing on your deadlines or your projects or your QA stats anymore. It changes, and that transition can be hard because you now have a bigger picture view that you have to be considering. You're now considering, okay, what are the effects on my team outside of my group? So coming from customer experience or from training, like what are the expectations outside of my group, and trying to have that bigger picture of the BSC, as well as what are my employees' expectations for me, for the BSC. There's a lot that plays into that, you know. So you have to consider and try to shift your focus from kind of a little bit more of a single-minded view of I need to get better QAs, I need to reach my deadlines on time or close this ticket, to, okay, now I need to make sure that we're accomplishing all these things that reach the BSC's mission or vision of what we're trying to do. So I know not everybody's job descriptions are on there. I'm still waiting for a few of them to come in from your coordinators. There was one, I don't know if it was even close to, the survey manager was even close to your position, but based off of what you guys read in your job descriptions, how do you, or what differences do you see in focus from what you've read?
Meaning like what would be the difference?
Yeah, so comparing your new job description to what your old job was, what main differences are you seeing in your new specific positions?
I would say that we're the cheerleaders. We're there to like obviously motivate the team, but as well organized, structured. We're as well kind of a steering wheel too. We're taking care of that and making sure that we're achieving not only our individual goals, but our goal as a whole in our team and as well as the BSC. So,
yeah, I like that analogy of the steering wheel, right? We definitely have the ability to kind of steer that car or steer our team in the right direction. I like that. Cheerleaders is good too. We definitely can be motivators as well. And you guys are going to learn a little about that in your homework tonight. But there's definitely some vision and cheering on that comes from us. Grace? Oh, sorry, I thought you raised your hand.
No, I did not.
You were just nodding.
I mean,
Any
I can come
thoughts?
up with something. I don't know if I saw a lot of differences, but like this was my first week as a team lead. And so it was interesting to take the survey after it. And I was like, okay, I'm doing okay. And then reading the job description, I'm like, okay, I'm actually doing these things. So that was.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you and Kim have been working in this position for a little bit without the training already. So anything that surprised you guys that was in your job descriptions that you were like, oh, I didn't know or think that I needed to do that? If not, that's good, because hopefully that means that you understand what your supervisors have been doing. Okay, so a little bit more discussion, and I don't know if we even got this far in this page of the binder before the printer stopped working, but in your new position, how do you think your focus will need to change in these areas? Is there anything that stands out to you right here where you can see, oh, my focus definitely needs to change in that area?
I guess the most simple one is time commitment, because there is a lot more time commitment. Like we do have team and council, and so time commitment.
Yeah, some of you will have to adjust your schedules to fit with other supervisors that you're working with. That also is limited in the areas where we have shifts. You now are working on more limited availability with that, right? But also a lot of us have these outside meetings and councils that we have to go to that we weren't previously expected to go to before. I think most of you, probably except Hogan, got to attend the leadership retreat this weekend. So that's another example of like a Saturday or an outside event in which you guys are expected to spend some hours on, right? So that's definitely a big one. I know I spelled it wrong, but I thought this dealing with information one was really interesting. How do you now deal with information? Because a lot of the time we're given announcements and information as an employee, right, of what we need to change and keep in mind. But now I think your focus shifts in this area too, where when you're dealing with information, sometimes it's from your employees to you, and you're like, okay, Now what channel do I need to pass this to, or what do I need to do about that information I've been given? And sometimes it's from your supervisors or colleagues to you that needs to be disseminated to your employees. So a lot of the time, the information you're getting in these positions needs to go somewhere else, and it doesn't just stay with you the way it has in the past.
Thanks for that too, yeah. That was the one that stood out to me the most as far as focus shifting, because I think you're also privy to information that's kind of more sensitive, or you can be, relevant to people on your team or just in general. And just kind of having that responsibility for it, making sure it gets the right place, or not sharing certain things if they're not supposed to be shared, or just making sure that you're taking accountability or responsibility for it, and treating it like with maybe a little bit more caution or respect than you would previously.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more things that supervisors can be privy to or aware of, that we need to be cautious with what we do with that information, right? So it might be pertaining to an employee in a sensitive situation there. We need to really consider, is this something I need to share, or do I need to keep their privacy on this? And who would I share it with, trying to understand that employee's privacy, as well as if we're just getting information about possible changes in the office, and it's like, do I share this before we've kind of had a more concrete plan put in place, or you have to consider kind of the consequences of some of that more sensitive information. So I think we've talked about a lot of these already. Anyone's thoughts on attitude? I know we haven't addressed that, but Kim?
So I think as far as attitude goes, I think that's important as being a team lead, because I know, like, as an agent, sometimes it's hard if you get a hard phone call or something, your attitude can shift. So I think as a team lead, it's really important for us to keep that positive attitude so that we can help our agents when maybe they do have a bad phone call, or they're having a hard day, so they're not having maybe the best attitude about taking phone calls. Like, we're able to help them maybe switch the attitude so they can do the best that they can.
Yeah, I like that. I definitely think there's somewhat of the parent principle that applies here. You guys know it's always said, like, when mom's upset, everyone's upset, or right? And that's definitely true. But I think it can be true with your supervisors. Like, employees pick up on the fact when you're upset about maybe a new process that you're trying to teach them, or when you're upset about something that's happened in the office. And a lot of the time, we're not saying that you guys can't have those feelings, but a lot of the time we need to know which channels and where to share them with, right? And what's appropriate. And sometimes that's meaning trying to have a positive attitude or a differing attitude in front of our team when we need to make some of those harder transitions or things that come up. I don't know if that made sense.
Pretty much having our own one form.
Yeah, exactly. We have to make sure that we have an attitude that will be beneficial to our team members and not hinder them in any way. Okay. So we're going to talk, I just want to get you guys thinking real quick about some of these positions. We're going to do a couple activities. We're going to talk about Jill and John and their new positions, and we're just going to discuss some things that they might need to be keeping in mind as they're making this transition. So Jill was just promoted from a web developer on the business solutions team to project manager of the business solutions team. As a web developer, Jill's focus was on her projects and her deadlines. She needed to ensure quality and timeliness of her work. Now Jill is in charge of a team of 9 developers and works closely with their department coordinator, Luisa Silva. How might Jill's focus need to change in this new position? Any thoughts? What should she be keeping in mind or prioritizing as she's looking at going into this position?
I think she needs to be like focusing more on people than projects. So, yeah, that's the first thought that I had.
Yeah, that's definitely different, right? She's not so much worried on projects as much as she is her team now. There might still be some things involved with projects with that transition to where she's at.
So since she's working closely with her department coordinator, she needs to be accountable to her, like, just constantly, because she, like, I mean, as you said, that she was focusing more before like deadlines in her own projects, but now since she's focusing on people, her like mindset would also have to change.
Yeah, it's definitely different who she's reporting to and what she's reporting, right? And those are things and good questions to think about as you guys go into these positions, or what are your coordinators or supervisors' expectations of you, and what are you expected to bring to them as far as information goes? In your previous position, it might have been questions about your projects or your phone calls or things like that. But now there's probably different things that you would need to ask them about, and some things that you don't need to ask them about because they've given you responsibility in those areas. That was good. Thanks, Sebastian. Anything else?
Just kind of going with what Sebastian was saying, like, you don't have to leave your old focuses behind. Like, it will still be important for her to understand the projects that each person's working on and the deadlines that they have. But just to kind of expand that out and realize that it's not just the one, but it's everybody together as a team.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Many of you are actually, I think all of you are being promoted in areas where you have previous experience with that position and what your employees are doing. It's important not to forget that experience, because your own experiences can really help your employees as you move forward, trying to understand their situations or trying to help them through hard things. So make sure you keep those in mind, but also have that broader perspective like Logan was considering, and knowing that your employees might have additional experiences that you don't, and additional knowledge that you haven't had. And so there's definitely some things to keep in mind there. As well as with that, I think something is that needs to change in her focus is she's probably still going to think about projects and deadlines and quality of work, right? But now it's shifting for her from her own projects to she has a group of 9 people and 9 people's projects that she has to keep in mind. So that's definitely going to be a little bit of a change in focus and challenge, right? Okay, let's talk about John. John was recently promoted from a continuing education trainer to a team lead over the help desk. In his previous job, he created trainings and completed event planning for the BSC training team. Now, John is in charge of 8 employees that work throughout the day from 8 to 5. He also needs to get to know specifics about a new department in the BSC so he can run the help desk properly. He will also be in charge of all lost and found intake, output, and sales. How will John's focus need to shift in his new position? Logan?
I think the first thing to know for me was kind of shifting from focusing on giving trainings to receiving training, which can sometimes be hard. I know like the help desk is is very specific in what you do. It's a little bit different than maybe the rest of the BSC. And so just having that mindset of like, yes, I'm the team lead, but also there's things I can learn from everyone that's already been here, and there's things I need to learn about how this all works to do my job.
Yeah, I really like that you pointed that out. There's definitely needs to be some humility in this and willingness to learn. We actually are seeing this next semester, as well as have seen this in the past with people who move from one team that they've worked on to another, and suddenly there's a supervisor and they don't have as much experience in that area. That was actually my experience. I worked essentially on the chat team. Back then it was called outreach, and I switched as a senior lead to phones, and I had no experience in phones previously other than my initial training. So that was definitely a challenge, and you have to be humble and willing to kind of approach that situation with, I have a lot to learn, but I can do this, right? Anything else? I think something that's a challenge for this one is having 8 employees that work throughout the day. Some of you may see this in your position. Some of you who are on shift work won't so much, but you may have employees that are working at different times than you, and you might not always see them throughout their shift during the day. You might even have employees that are working on 2 shifts or covering a shift that you don't get to see them throughout the day, right? So there's definitely a challenge in being aware of your employees' schedules and what they have to do during that time, and finding ways to be accountable and focused on them still, even if your schedules are differing in the times that you're here. So, okay, any other thoughts before we move on? Great. Okay, we're going to talk about the mission statement. I know this was mentioned a little bit in your homework, but hopefully all of you are aware of our mission statement, which is support and simplify the student experience. How has the mission statement influenced or affected you so far in your time here as an employee at the BSC?
I think that it has personally helped me organize my thoughts. I don't know, learning a new language and working in a place where you need to provide information that is somewhat complicated when it comes, for example, to financial aid. It can be all overwhelming, and just being able to take one thing at a time and really compartmentalize everything and just structure it was real helpful. So that helped me really to get all of that done as fairly rapidly, I guess, on my first semester at the BSC. So I owe it a lot.
Yeah, it sounds like you really related to that word simplify in here,
Yeah.
right? And trying to make sure that you were ready and prepared to help as simply as possible. Anyone else?
I think one thing it's helped me with is seeing outside of myself as I've progressed into different positions. As an agent, like you're accountable for you and you only, and then as you become a team leader or whatever else, whatever other position you go into, you're accountable for a lot more than that. And if you really look at the mission statement and the heart of it, it's inviting you to see outside of yourself, because even as an agent, if you were to look at it and break it down, you're not just responsible for your statistics, you're responsible for each person that you help in their experience and what you either, at least in that 10, 15-minute period. So it's helped me to see outside of myself a lot.
Yeah, I really like that. As you look at the BSC, we're a group of many people, a group of many departments and responsibilities. But we have one mission statement, and as many of you are experiencing now and may experience in the future, you may change positions like Trenton's experienced, but the mission statement may take on new meaning in those positions, but it's still the same, right? And there's still meaning to be found. So I really like that. Any thoughts on the second question? How does the mission statement support BYU Idaho's mission?
BYU Idaho's mission statement is to create disciples of Jesus Christ through women and discovery. College, and it kind of goes back to the previous thing, college is already a hard time, right? Like we're all taking classes, we're all trying to graduate, trying to set ourselves up for whatever else we're experiencing. And at the same time, trying to maintain our sanity and still develop as disciples of Christ. And in order to do that, we need help. And we're always encouraged to go outside of ourselves to church leaders or ministering partners, companions, assignments, and others to seek that help and kind of display that humility. And in this instance where we need help educationally or with the experience, we also have someone to reach out to, and that is us. Not comparing us to bishops or anything like that, but in a way, we're able to help and able to take stress off of someone's plate that might detract from their objective of becoming a better disciple.
Yeah, I really like that. There's a lot of, as Brian likes to say, red tape or administrative things at the university that have to be done in order to be a student. But that can get really complicated sometimes. And Logan, who works in customer experience, probably knows or will know very soon how hard it can be to try to pull information from some of these departments if a student was having to go looking for it on their own, right? And we have the opportunity here to be able to simplify that for them, give them a one-stop place, no matter how they like to be contacted, whether it's on phones or chat or in person. We have all those options to be able to help people and remove that red tape essentially so that people can better become disciple leaders of Jesus Christ.
So I did orientation last week, and it was super fun, but it has the same question in the orientation for the new hires. And this time as I was thinking about it, no matter what experience we have in life, we can use that as an opportunity to become more Christ-like. And in our jobs, like, we get to choose whether we become more Christ-like by the way that we act. And like Christ, he supports and simplifies our lives. And so as we try to embody that mission statement, we are becoming more Christ-like and we are becoming disciples of Jesus Christ. If we have that mindset and focus on him, like while we're doing our just everyday things. So,
Yeah, I love that. I hadn't thought of that. I hadn't thought of our mission in an aspect beyond the BSC, but I definitely think that there's some Christ-like principles that are taught in that, and I appreciate the association.
I have one comment. So before I was in the BSC, I was the guy who approved everybody's final graduation. So I had to review whether or not they'd met our requirements. And every single semester, we had quite a few people who left the university really bitter because of the challenging experience that they had. Like, we just made graduating so awful that they left with a really bitter taste in their mouth. And I had a front row view of that every single semester. And so to me, this is one of the things that, you know, over the 10 years that I've worked at the university, this has been kind of my mantra the whole time is, you know, simplifying the experience to the point that it just is something that's happening behind the scenes and it doesn't affect their positive view of the university and the spiritual feelings that they feel, because it can all be good up to the point that they're trying to graduate and we can spoil it for them. So every single experience they have, even with us, matters. And I think that a lot of people don't realize, unless you've seen it firsthand, how important every experience is. So.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think many of us have probably talked to or heard of people who have had or gotten the run around here at the university, right? We know those people who have had hard experiences. And so by us trying to make it simpler for them and make sure we're providing that good support, hopefully we can prevent more people from having similar experiences. So with that change in focus, I would just like to suggest you, this is nothing official, but I would like to suggest you a change in focus in the mission statement as well. Because many of us will be still supporting the student experience from our positions, but it's in a more indirect way, right? We have less direct control over how we're doing that. And if you're working in other departments like training or customer experience, you've probably already felt this in some way where you're not directly supporting that, but we still can relate to this mission in a different way. And what I'd just like to suggest to you is this idea of supporting and simplifying the employee experience. And by so doing, we're better enabling them to be able to support and simplify the student experience, making their lives simpler through processes or information or things that we do as their supervisors, as well as making sure that we support them in teaching them the best ways for them to be giving customer experience and helping fellow employees, as well as making sure that they feel supported and cared about at work. Because we no longer have this direct access, unless you're taking a supervisor phone call or something like that, to people trying to contact the university or the BSC. It's different now, right? But we do have direct access to the people that are supporting that experience. And so we're responsible for them, I guess, in a different way. Any thoughts about this?
I just think it's cool, and I think it's cool how that can lead with any position that we might be moving from. So whether we are an agent or we're a supervisor, I think it's just cool how that mission statement can change and still apply to all of those.
Yeah, I agree. All right. I'm just going to talk to you guys about the mission statement for a minute. And I'd like to just let you know from my own experience that this is one of the best tools that you guys will have in your tool belt is this mission statement. It's going to give you the ability to motivate employees. I think a lot of us, especially in our day-to-day work, can forget the reason why we're showing up every day except for a paycheck, right? And that doesn't necessarily get the best of everyone out of our employees, right? That doesn't bring the best out of you if that's why you're coming. So as far as motivation goes, it helps our employees to see the bigger picture, and we are the ones that reminds them of that, and I guess brings that to their attention when they're losing that motivation or they're losing that bigger picture. We're the ones that are responsible to help highlight it for them and help remind them, like, no, what you're doing is supporting people, is simplifying this experience. Like it's a good thing, right? And it gives us that ability to better lead people, to help direct their focus in one direction so that we're not all going down different paths of what we're trying to accomplish, but to stay on the same page, as well as guide them, right, into bigger and better things and to things that they can accomplish here as well as outside of our job. It's important that you guys don't forget this. And like I said, in your homework tonight, we'll be talking about vision casting, and you guys will learn a bit about that and what vision can do for an organization. But really, our mission statement is our vision. And it's gone through several revisions, actually, over time. And this is definitely the simplest, I think, version we've ever had. And that's so that people have a singular focus, and so that people have something that no matter where you work in the BSC, you can relate to it. So just don't forget this. Make sure that you guys are finding ways to remind your employees of what the bigger picture is and what we're trying to accomplish. And that's why we're teaching it here today. Part of your homework tonight, you'll see this, but also just sometime this week, we're going to talk about it on Friday, is to take 3 to 5 minutes to write down what the mission statement means to you specifically. And maybe that's in mind of your new position, or maybe that's just in your experience here. What connections have you felt to the mission statement? You can't teach something that you don't genuinely feel or understand or believe in. And that's why I'm going to have you guys take the time to do this, is your employees will know if it's just something that you feel expected to throw out there as the mission statement, or if it's something that you truly feel defines your job and that you believe in and that you've seen happen here at the BSC, right? So whatever it is, whether it's writing down experiences where you've seen the mission statement exemplified, or writing down ways that you feel connected to it, actually take that time to just reflect on it. And tomorrow, when I can get the printer to work, I'll have a specific place for you guys to write this. So, okay, we're going to talk about supervisor key values really quick. You guys all read these last night. I'm just going to try to pull them up so that we can review them. Does anyone, I know I just had the page up, but can anyone remember what our 4 key values are? Safety first. No, good job, Logan. That one comes very first.
Accuracy and efficiency.
Courtesy.
Courtesy, that's the second one. So then accuracy and efficiency. And the reason I specify order is just because there was reasoning behind specifying that order when they came up with these values. They wanted it to really be like a stepping stone when we make decisions, right? So safety should always come before courtesy, and courtesy always before accuracy, and accuracy before efficiency. And that's important, I think, to consider too, as you guys are making decisions looking forward in your supervisor positions, that you want to keep these in mind and make sure you're keeping them in order, right? But let me see if I can zoom out. I wanted to ask you guys, was there anything that stood out to you in this as you were reading through some of these supervisor key values? They've changed since you were an employee. Was there anything that you thought, oh, I didn't know that that would be something I should think about, or I like that that's something I should think about?
For safety, I think it's interesting to me that we are in charge of creating that safe environment, not just promoting it, but creating it. Because that creation not only stimulates people to feel safe, but it changes as well the culture in the team, the dynamic of the team. If people are more willing to open up, if people are going to be more shy, if people are going to trust us in one-on-ones, or if they're going to have issues with that, if people are going to perform in phone work, or if they're going to have a hard time with that. So that safe environment will let them know, okay, so-and-so is able to take care of me. I can like just give my full potential and focus on what I have to do. So I like that.
Yeah, I really like that that's the one you pointed out. I definitely think a supervisor plays the biggest role in safety on the team. You guys are the ones that establish that for your team, and you're the ones that can address anything that's becoming an unsafe situation on the team, right? And so it definitely falls on your shoulders to make sure that this value is being upheld and created on your own team. Anything else?
There's three things in the courtesy, area that stick out to me. First is that first bullet point, empathizing without disparaging other officers. It's really easy, especially when you first get here as an agent or whatnot, to have a 10-minute wait or to have 10 different phone calls where you have 2-minute waits with an office and to complain about it and whatnot. And it is frustrating. As a supervisor, it's important that while you do acknowledge that that's frustrating, that you don't engage in the, well, yeah, accounting sucks or this or it's, yeah, I understand that's frustrating, but they have a lot going on too, right? Like we have a lot of calls, they have a lot of stuff going on, and just acknowledging the human nature and all of it. The other, supervisors placing trust in their employees. There's obviously, your goal as a supervisor is to be able to help everybody all the time, but it's not going to happen. You have hours, at least 1 hour most days, where you have a one-on-one scheduled with somebody. And that's an hour where you're not available to help the other 4 or 5 people under your supervision. And you have to be able to trust your employees, and they have to know that you trust them to kind of step up and to be able to handle that hour or whatever it is that you're gone. And without you trusting them, their ability to trust each other also dwindles. So in those moments where you're gone, it's going to be harder for them to trust one another. And that just starts to tear apart your team, period. And then following up with employees about feedback. There's very few things worse at work than giving feedback and then it just disappearing into the universe, right? You say, hey, I'm uncomfortable with this, or this could be made easier, or this was great, or could we have more of this, and then nothing coming as a result. Making sure that they feel validated and that they are heard and they know they are heard.
Yeah, Jared talked about this on Saturday, and you guys will see this a little in your readings tonight. But going back to following up, I think something that definitely contributes to people's trust in us or our character is our ability to provide results, right? Or to follow up on things that we've been tasked with as a leader. And that includes tasks from our employees, because we will receive a lot of that. This is not just from our supervisors down to us, but from our employees to us. I don't want to cut anyone off. I am going a little over time, but any other thoughts as you looked at this that you wanted to share?
One thing I noticed is that knowledge is a common thread going through all of them. So the first one, you need to know the different things like TPR, whatever, FERPA, things like that. And the same thing with all the other ones. You need to know what's going on, you need to know your stuff, and that's something that you're going to be continually doing always. So regardless of positioning, there's always things that you need to learn or stay up to date with. And only when you have that knowledge can you effectively, I think, live these values.
Yeah, that's definitely important. And I agree that it kind of goes throughout this thing. You need to be adequately prepared. And hopefully this training will help you with that, but also your experience and the questions you ask your supervisors and things like that. You're going to need that experience and knowledge throughout your position. You'll also probably gain your own experiences that you learn from in these positions that you'll use in the future as knowledge, right? Okay, those are in your binder, so you guys can go back and refer to them. But we just wanted to cover them as part of the change in focus that you guys are going to have. It redefines the values for you guys a little bit and how you're expected to uphold those. So like has already been talked about, safety is something that you guys are in charge of creating and ensuring stays on your team. So when you're seeing unsafe situations or things like that, you're responsible to address it as the team leads or supervisors, so that you can ensure you keep that safety on your team and you maintain that safety. Or if you're seeing situations on the team that's causing an unsafe situation that maybe isn't totally due to your team, but maybe due to some BSC things in general or processes in general, it's also your guys' responsibility to address that with your supervisor and say, hey, I've noticed this thing that's going on. What can we do to fix it? Because I think that it's disturbing the safety of my team, right? Courtesy. I like all the things that were mentioned by Trenton, so thank you. This means courtesy to your employees as well as courtesy to the other things happening here at the university, right? And we are responsible to help maintain that. And disparaging other people at the university or other teams that we work with, things like that can definitely violate courtesy with them as well as with our employees. So, and then accuracy. There's accuracy that you guys will need to keep in mind in your job, as you probably saw from some of the values, but also accuracy that you can help teach your employees by ensuring best practices and teaching them things that will help them be better in their job. And then last but not least, efficiency. And this is just making sure that we are doing everything as efficiently as we can without sacrificing the other three values. So we're still making good use of our time, of the university's money that we're using to be here, as well as helping people who reach out to us have a more efficient and effective experience, right? Sorry to breeze through that, but I really wanted to get to departments before we close, and we're going to talk about this just for the last few minutes. I just wanted to ask and start with an activity. I don't know if we have time to throw some stuff up on the board, but actually we're going to do that. If everyone will go grab a marker, find a spot on one of the boards that's in here, and just write what you know about these departments. What you know they do, what you think they do. It doesn't have to be what they know, what you know for sure. It could be what you think, but kind of write up what you understand about them so far.
This is being called outreach.
I know, outreach, the good old days.
Fun name.
Don't feel bad about putting anything you're not sure about up there too, because this is an opportunity for us to learn. A lot of people don't learn or don't know or remember what everyone does here.
I'm competitive, like I'll be competitive right now.
You're like, I gotta be the first one sat down. Wow, some people are getting very detailed. Good job. That means you have good understanding. Okay, I'm gonna call time simply. Sorry, I know you guys probably have a lot more you could write. But sorry, I've been a little over today. So just to make sure I'm getting you guys out of here on time, I'm gonna call time on this. Hopefully it got you thinking, right? Did anyone look at some of these and think, man, I don't know for sure what they do? It's okay, own it. That's okay.
I try every single time I try to understand.
It's okay. Yeah. It's definitely a challenge that a lot of us are still working remotely too, right? So any other groups that you were like, I am unclear what they do? No?
I'm sure there's definitely things in customer experience solutions that I'm overlooking.
Yes.
I feel like I have a pretty good idea what happens. But if I were to talk to Logan, for example, about CX, he would have a lot of stuff he'd like to know.
So we're going to talk about this today and kind of cover as much as we can with each group, but I kind of wanted to get you guys thinking for a minute about what you already knew. So your wheels were turning a little bit, but as we've already talked about as supervisors, you guys are going to need to know the inner workings of BSC and have the bigger picture, right? And this will also help you guys get the most out of your experience because you'll know what resources you have available to you and who you can go to for different things that you can use in your supervisor position. So we're just gonna start with the managers. Hopefully you guys all know, let me hide this. If not, that's okay. Brian's here today, so you can at least put a face to that name. But Jared is our director. He oversees the entire BSC and he spends a lot of time talking to everybody at the university about different things that we need to be involved with or that they need to be involved with us. Brian, he is here. He introduced himself a little already, but he's over the contacts team. So that's going to be any inbound or outbound contacts received to the BSC. And for the most part, that means the university as well, because it starts with us. And then Carl, he's the systems manager, so he oversees customer experience as well as solutions. And he oversees basically the inner workings that keep the BSC running, right? Both of those teams are all doing things that are required in order for us to be able to effectively do our jobs. And so he helps to oversee that process. Phones team. This is the teams I'm over, so phones and training. We have currently 3 senior leads right now in phones, 1 in training, and then Jonathan will be doing sort of an internship with us next semester. So hopefully you guys know them, Jacob, Trenton, and Jonathan, but they have several people that report to them in phones. Each of them has about 5 or 6 leads, and each of their leads have as you know, anywhere from 3 to 7 employees. And then we have the training team, project managers. They're split into onboarding and ongoing. So onboarding is Alicia. That means anyone that's getting initial training into the BSC, she's in charge of, as well as ongoing. That's going to be Sari next semester. That's why she's with us today. Currently, Trenton's doing that while training for his senior lead position, but Sari has already really stepped up. So ongoing is anything having to do with continuing ed, the appreciation event, urgent or emergency trainings, any updates to or trainings to current employees, basically. So, all right, chat, email, and help desk team. Ryan is the one that's over the chat, email, and help desk team. They take all incoming written communication, basically, to the university. Rebecca's their senior lead. They have several leads on their team. Sebastian's going to be, sounds like he's already one of them for the weekends, but going to be one more often next semester, as well as they have Kemi, who's going to be the help desk lead next semester. Currently it's Brooklyn, but Kemi will be helping up there, and she reports to Rebecca. So that's them. Customer experience. So Holly's the one over customer experience. Sorry, Logan, I didn't get your picture in here yet. I looked on Canva and you have not been uploaded yet, so I need to go Facebook stock and get a picture. But yes, Holly's over customer experience. They do a lot of the communicating with everybody here at BYU Idaho to receive and get updates and information for our knowledge base, which we all know many of us need and use every day. So they're keeping us up to date on all of that information, as well as communicating our feedback out to them when we do have feedback and information from them that we're receiving. They also, so Natasha's the one over that project manager position. Her and Logan will be doing it both next semester. They also take in all surveys that are sent out for our different contacts communications. So Brian's the one that oversees that team, but they essentially respond to any customer service feedback that we get from anyone calling in, chatting in, anything like that. And then they are currently creating, most of you hopefully have used it at this point, a new one-stop web page for different, basically it's kind of like a knowledge base that students can access. And that is what Ricardo's team is creating and maintaining for us. So that's a little bit about what customer experience does. Business solutions, I know there are some questions surrounding business solutions. Lisa is the one over this team. They oversee the quality assurance for all of our contacts teams. So ensuring that we provide a good quality experience and giving us data on that, on how we're doing. Sean oversees the reports and systems project team, basically. So they do all the web development. They created the one form. They create reports and statistics for us to look at. And then Abigail, she oversees the system assurance team. So they're over, why can't I think the word? Online course authorizations. Thank you. That's, it failed me for a second. They approve all of those. They also oversee instructor grievances and complaints that are submitted, as well as making sure that all of the systems and processes that are put in place are being evaluated to make sure that they are effective. So some of you might have seen they have come in and watched us using the one form and gathered data on how effectively we're using it and whether it's working. And then they report back on things like that. Okay, we may be close to out of time, but I just want you guys to think about this, and I'll finish up with a final thought. Just consider how each group in the BSC is helping us to fulfill our mission statement. Because as stated before, it doesn't matter where you're at in our organization, the mission statement still applies to you. And it's important for us to be able to see what each group and what piece each group is adding to that vision and that direction that we're going. And really quick, I'm not going to have as much time to cover this topic as I wanted to, but there's something that's called the white space of an organization that I wanted to kind of introduce this idea to you guys. And that's, I don't know, many of you have probably seen the organization charts in Workday, right? And we just kind of went through one where you saw the people working there in the different groups. And essentially, it has one of the best principles of leadership and supervising people has been the ability to work in the white space of an organization. And that means not just from the bottom up or the top down, right? But working across as well. That's what that white space is, in between the groups and pictures and people that are in an organizational chart. And I promise that as you guys look to be effective leaders, if you find ways to work across the organization and reach out to different groups and use those resources that are available to you, you will find yourself being more successful, as well as having better communication and really utilizing your experience for what it is. So hopefully that made sense. I know I had to cover it quickly, but just think about what you can do to moving forward in your future position, kind of work in the white space and utilize your resources in the different groups and departments here to the best of your ability so that you can get the most out of your experience. And we'll close on that note. Sorry, I know I'm 2 minutes over. But thank you guys for being here. I promise to have your binders more ready tomorrow, even if I need to find a different printer. But I appreciate you guys' patience. Hopefully it wasn't too bad to sit through. Yeah.
That's so cool. That's, it's like ways.